Hello everybody, welcome. I'm No02. Thank you for watching this video. This is Act 1 No Hope solo deck. A deck designed to be played with bots and not players, in Act 1 specifically. And it has some of the new cards here. Honestly, some of the better Children of the Worm cards for the most part, at the very least, for solo mode, right? Which we're doing here. So please check the timestamps. Check the timestamps, especially about Expire T5, because there's an important thing that I have sort of realized when it comes to running Expire T5 with the bot specifically, and also Food Scavenger. Those are the two new cards that we're running. They'll be timestamped. So, Hazard Pay. Share the Wealth does not work properly in offline mode. You do not get the extra 300 copper that the bots would have. They don't have it. It goes nowhere. It literally just goes to the players. Next, Money Grubbers. You need to take pretty much every single hive that you encounter and get the occasional Cost of Avarice mission, like every 3-4 missions. Otherwise, Hazard Pay will eventually beat out Money Grubbers in the long run. And then when it comes to Bounty Hunter, sometimes you don't hit it. Most of the time you do, but sometimes you don't, depending on the size of the mission and how fast you're going and things like that. Hazard Pay, you set it, you forget it, and you move on with your life. And I don't worry about having to min-max for an extra 50 points of copper, you know what I mean? Offensive Scavenger, the most reliable and best card in the game to get an extra grenade, right? And so you'll notice no Pinata. It's actually because it expired T5. Without a support slot, you end up triggering Pinata, and you know, the bulk of the things that you can end up finding with Pinata are either throwables or medicine. And occasionally you'll get some quick slot items, right? We're always happy to see a toolkit, things like that. But a lot of the times, like about half of the time, obviously I know the math doesn't work out quite like that, but about half of the time you just end up getting something that you can't pick up because we have expired T5. And the thing that we want the most anyways is throwables. So we just cut out Pinata, we put in Offensive Scavenger, but also very specifically on Act 1, for whatever reason, the Diner is a great map for Offensive Scavenger to pop off, and it's a map where you can potentially piggyback a lot of that stuff to set up. And also, too, Offensive Scavenger comes in really, really strong on, what should we call it? Abandoned. Where there is a gas station, the infested house, the second house, and then they'll run all the way up to the safe room, where there's actually lots and lots of opportunity to sort of loot up and find things to throw and set up Molotovs and things like that. And so Offensive Scavenger also gives us the potential, the randomness of coming across a flashbang. We'll take a mental note of it. We'll keep going. Uh-oh, the breaker spawned. Run back to our flashbang set up there. Breaker jumps in. He does his little roar. You can interrupt the roar with the flashbang and thus prevent the horde event. Very, very cool. Offensive Scavenger, just, there's so much mileage or so much potential out of it that I think it's just silly not to run now in no hope mode. Extra grenade slots, bomb squad, improvised explosives. Just enough grenade damage, for the most part, to deal with Tallboy variants. Though hardened Tallboys are still an issue. As we level up our grenades, we still maintain the ability to stumble most of the Tallboys or outright kill them. And of course, if the bots go down, all that damage is nice and multiplicative with our grenade stuff. So really the bare bones here as far as grenade damage is concerned. We really are looking for extra grenade upgrades. It's the most important thing that we can possibly buy out of the store. Make sure you have enough copper every single mission to buy it if you have the opportunity to do so. But I also really like Bomb Squad because of the extra frag grenade. Because again, it's just having enough grenades over the course of the mission is just the easiest thing in the world for us. Especially now with Expire T5 and good positioning, we can deal with infinite horde events for the most part. All we really need to do now is solve the mutation problem, and extra grenades is the key to that. So one extra grenade at a bomb squad, I think alone is almost worth it. Fire in the Hole for the extra healing. We have no support slot because of expired T5, but also now with Fire in the Hole, Run Like Hell, Dash, and Superior Cardio, our sprint speed is a nice escape tool. We're caught out in the open, maybe expired T5 is on cooldown, we're on the crossing, trying to get onto the boat, get off the boat, or whatever. Things are swarming you. You can throw a grenade at your feet, speedy zoom away, throw a grenade at your feet in Hell's Bells, and sprint across the church in one big mega sprint jump and things like that. A lot of potential here to sort of just survive in general. if you get caught out, and plus the extra healing is really nice. Because, I mean, we're going to be throwing lots of stuff, and so even if you come across something, and you're like, I'm not going to use that, pick it up and throw it, because it's extra health. Headband Magnifier and Multi-Tool. And at this point, this deck actually looks pretty dang similar to my Act 5 No Hope solo deck, because, well, both of these acts, Act 1 and Act 5, have a demand for use speed. Less so in Act 5, where the use speed isn't quite as critical to have as the field cannon is, or boarding up the windows in Hell's Bells. We have more use speed here than we do in Act 5, but for the most part, the same general gist. We deal with all the mutations, we deal with all the horde events with our cards, use speed for the objectives. Expiry T5 and Pyro, unbelievably strong. So powerful, it's totally free. But, two things here. One, when it comes to using T5 with the bots, as far as I can tell, I didn't realize this before, but as far as I can tell, it seems like the bots do not want to drop ammo for you unless you're carrying it in one of your weapons. So I've been running shotgun Desert Eagle a lot of the times, and I'll run out of AR ammo, and the bots just won't give it to me. So, with that being said then, typically, I still don't like picking up a primary weapon that runs AR. I still ran into ammo issues because the bots just couldn't drop ammo frequently enough. So I've been running my usual shotgun, which I've come to love. It has the highest DPS in the game, AA-12. Amazing. And then I'll actually run the revolver in my secondary slot. For the most part, I was running a Desert Eagle anyways for the range of it. Just to sort of like poke at things from far away when my shotgun isn't cutting it. So I've just been running the revolver, and for the most part, if you have the revolver in your secondary, the bots will drop ammo for you in response to you running out of ammo using the expired T5. So I end up not using the revolver very often, but as I get low on ammo because of expired T5, the bots will still drop AR ammo for you, so it's a little bit of a workaround for it, because otherwise the bots just won't give you the AR ammo. Not the biggest deal in the world if you're super conservative with it. There's definitely missions where you just don't end up needing it or using it, but I mean, it's like free healing, free pass to just sprint through an area if you want to, or just loot and scoot really efficiently, things like that. Lots of opportunities to use it overall. In Act 1, though, Expire T5 is unbelievably good, and actually saves us copper in some scenarios. One is Pain Train. Pain Train has an infinite horde event at the end. If you don't get a hive out, you have to run all the way to the safe room at the end. So as soon as you're like starting to climb into that window at the water whatever plant or whatever it is in the back there, as you're making your final sprint to the safe room, pop T5, it becomes free. You don't have to worry about it. I don't have to worry about it at all. That's typically sometimes an area where I end up needing to burn a grenade to clear space for myself because zombies are just pulling up right there. Same thing on the crossing. Trying to get back onto the boat, trying to get back onto the boat specifically. Typically, I throw a grenade. In fact, in my walkthrough and in my playthroughs, I say, throw a grenade here, because with the sprint speed of Fire in the Hole, you basically blow up just a chunk of space for you as you're getting back onto the boat, giving you the ability to sprint jump on. Sometimes you don't need to do that at all. If there's no mutations there, you pop Expire T5, everything just burns out, and the space is created, and you just sprint on. Same for, what's the jukebox missions? The jukebox missions, I can't think of it for some reason. Barroom Blitz. Having Pyro makes that mission free. Expired T5, totally free. It's not necessarily saving us grenades there, but we have infinite health between Expired T5 and the whatever 7 Molotovs that they give us in the bar itself. You just can't die, and you can just keep the jukebox covered in flames. Everything's burning out. You throw a grenade at the occasional mutation, and you can do it easily, no problem, without the jukebox ever going down. Throw your Molotovs. Interchange your Molotovs with your... Throw a Molotov when your T5 is on cooldown, things like that. And it's super easy. And you're constantly floating at like 300 health plus, because all of the bots are running the overheal, or fit as a fiddle. You have lots of opportunity for extra health just in general with the bots. So you just got tons and tons of health. And I mean, for Expired T5, I was going to move on. Expired T5 is also great on Hell's Bells. They'll give you space to run around and board up the windows. It's great on Sound of Thunder because you can just pop it when you're loading a shell in. You don't have to worry about the RNG of the bots healing you. It's amazing. Expire T5 has so much value in Act 1 specifically because so many missions just... Either we don't need to use a grenade or we were using a grenade before, or there's just so much things that were boarding up windows or loading in shells that you pop it, and you're safe, and all you have to worry about is the occasional mutation that shows up. Food Scavenger. I cut out Fresh Bandage for Food Scavenger. Food Scavenger does like a little bit of everything here, right? Like, you know, it gives you reload speed and accuracy and weapon swap speed and things like that. Some really nice things. It's sort of like a pseudo cold brew coffee, where it sort of gives us most of the things that cold brew coffee does, but a little different. And with Food Scavenger, the important thing here is food items restore an additional 3 HP. Note that none of the food items restore HP except for Peaches, which is 5 HP and 5 trauma, or Green Beans, which is like a percentage of a point of health every second or something like that, right? I don't think this buffs Green Beans necessarily, but in this sense, we get a little bit of everything. Extra damage, extra reload speed, all this little nice little quality of life stuff. Extra healing during the mission, on top of our amped up with the bots, help compensate for our lack of support slot, though we don't really need it. But I was testing, can we replace the trauma recovery of Fresh Bandage with Food Scavenger? It's still a trade-off, yes or no. It's kind of. 1 can of Peaches is a third of Fresh Bandage recovery trauma, or trauma recovery. And if you get 2, I mean, it's pretty good. So for the most part, you still can't make any mistakes beyond the minor ones. The Food Scavenger can help compensate for the trauma during the mission. Helps you heal during the missions and things like that. It's just fun. It works. It works. I don't necessarily know if it's better than Fresh Bandage, though, in general, when it comes to just, like, us being worried about trauma. But if you're really not making that many mistakes in general, this feels like you get a little bit more value out of it than you would Fresh Bandage, because we're still getting the trauma recovery here and there, but now we're getting the extra damage, extra reload speed, things like that. Plus, if you come across the Ravenous Corruption card, which is the card that deals damages to you over time, unless you eat food and things like that, I haven't really noticed any extra, like, food spawning with Food Scavenger on those missions. The missions are already pretty dang saturated with food overall. But those missions were already sort of free, because in solo mode you just get to eat all the food by yourself, so you never suffer the damage, the negative effect, because you're constantly well fed. And because we're getting all of those buffs, we're like super strong with like a bunch of bonus damage and 100% accuracy and crazy fast reload speed. Like, you're just unkillable. In addition to that, Food Scavenger makes that even stronger. It's like a win more card, because now all of the food is guaranteed to heal us some amount. And I'm just thinking about this right now, and I should have tested it, but I didn't think of it. Don't blame me. If anybody knows if this healing will go into your overheal, go into your bonus health. What is it? What is it called again? Bolstered Health. Will it go into your Bolstered Health? If Food Scavenger healing goes into your Bolstered Health, that's super strong. If you know, let me know. I don't know. I'll probably go test it right now. Maybe I'll put it in the description, things like that. So, kind of fun to run Food Scavenger over Fresh Bandage. Not necessarily better when it comes to the trauma recovery in that regard, but a little bit more mileage out of this card than we typically do with Fresh Bandage, because if you're playing really good, Fresh Bandage ball feels a little useless. It's just there in case you make a mistake. Saves you copper if you make a mistake. Food Scavenger has the potential to do the same thing, but give us some extra stuff, regardless of how poorly we're playing or not. Things like that. So, Act 1, No Hope solo deck with this. I had a lot of fun with it. When it comes to... we'll do a video in the future here when it breaks down all these new cards, but for the most part, a lot of the way that I typically handle a lot of the problems in the game, like mutations and the Horde event, we've pretty much always had the tools to deal with it. We have some nuanced additional ways to deal with it. But a lot of these cards don't end up really necessarily helping us and the general playstyle that at least that I have adopted for playing the game. Which is why you'll probably won't see a tremendous amount of new cards in a lot of my decks. But filling full of lead, suppressing fire, there's some potential there, let me tell you. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it, and I will see you in the future.